Alright, g'day guys. Welcome back tonight to another Hero Labs video. We're going to have a crack again at the editor tonight, working on some D&D 5th edition SRD content, so in that game system. Going to be looking at how to add a monster. So we'll go ahead and open Hero Labs now and we'll have a play. Alright, so in front of me you can see Hero Labs. You can see I've already got a file open. I've actually got a stock file. We'll talk a bit more about that later. But you can see I've got some monsters open. So just some things. What we're going to do tonight is actually come over here to the develop menu and make sure that enable data file debugging is enabled. Now the reason why we do this is it enables us to right click on things and see the unique ID that is actually used to reference that thing. And we can also go show debug fields and show debug tags, and we can show a whole heap of interesting information about things. So for example, I can see the what am I looking at here? The investigation skill has all of these fields associated with it, and I can see all of their values, which is really handy to know because, you know, if I want to modify them later, this is how I look it up. Once we've got all this set up though, we're going to go ahead and click Tools and go Show Editor. You can see I've got the editor here. Now I'm going to be working from a PDF tonight, working on a product by Legendary Games. I'm putting a fairy tale monster in. And basically what we're going to be doing is creating a file to work in, or opening up one that exists. I've already got one currently cranking, but you can just go new data file and work on that way. But I'll open this one up now. This is something I've been working on for a while. So, monsters, what are they? Technically, a monster within Hero Lab is just a race. So just like you have a race for a human, you have a race for an elf or a dwarf, you can have a race for a monster. But they're technically flagged as something that is an NPC race instead of basically a playable character race. So I'm just going to give us a bit more room to work. Here we go. Alright, so we need to go ahead and create the fairy dragon, the variegated. So we're going to go new blank. So click this and this creates a new template to work off. You can go new copy if you just want to make a modification to a monster. We'll go new blank. Going to give that a name. Don't really want it to all be capitals. Variegated. Alright, now, so that's the name of the monster. The next important thing that we need to do is give it a unique identifier. Now, to do this, what you usually want to do before you even start working on the editor is to make sure you come in here and set a user identifier. Personally, I use my initials or something else that's unique to yourself. The idea is that this is yours. You can see I'm working for a company at the moment. I'm doing their product. So I'm entering LG for Legendary Games. That way I know this item belongs to their product line. You'll see that the community pack, for example, uses 5C, and you'll see that there's different products out there that use different ones. So it's always good to use something unique. Once you've done that, you can come in here and you keep obviously the start of the name, and then after the question mark, you replace that with something else. So I'm going to just call it the variegated. Alright, so it goes to variegated. You can see there is a limit on how long the unique identifier can be, and then you hit that. Alright, now, next I need to basically come in here and enter the description. Now the description is what you're going to see when you look up this monster in the race field. Just going to come in here, fill it all out. Just a bit of a trick if you do have Realmworks is you can actually do this in Realmworks using the Control-Alt-V, then paste just as text. That way the paragraphs will actually line up properly and you don't have to do this manually, but don't think I've got Realmworks open. Oh, it is running down there. This is going to probably be a bit of a long video, guys. These are not things you do instantly. If you're looking for instant wins, you probably want to go and play with the custom monster race. It's a lot easier, but it's not as permanent. Alright. There we go. So that guy's done. For the description at least. The next thing I generally start is I come back up and I start from the top and I work my way to the bottom. So tiny, we're going to come in here and we're going to look for the tiny section. And I gotta admit, I usually use this full screen, so I'm probably going to be a bit slower than normal because Hero Labs basically realigns things so they're in their own spot. So tiny NPC race type is obviously a dragon. It's got chaotic good, so we can go default alignment is chaotic and then good. Click OK. So then that's done. The next one is armor class 17. Now I generally don't put this in yet if it's natural armor. I actually wait until the stat block is finished before I come and do that, because I don't know exactly what the armor class is going to be yet, and then I need to add a buffer to the natural armor, so we'll leave that. Hit points, 24, so we're going 7 dice. Alright, they're d4s, and we're putting in 24 as the standard default starting point, so that's how much it'll start with. We've got a swim speed of 30, so you can put 30 in here. Now just be aware that if you do put 30 in here and save it, this will actually disappear. 30 is the default. Alright, and if there's a 30, it doesn't actually keep that value, it just drops it off and keeps it at blank, because it knows that it doesn't need it. So just be aware that you can enter it just for the sake of knowing that you've done it, but it won't necessarily be there when you save and come back. Alright, we've got a fly speed and a swim speed. Fly speed is 10 feet, so we'll put 10. Swim speed is 60. Or is that? No, I'm reading that wrong. So that's 60 feet fly. And then a swim speed of 30 feet. And the speed is actually 10 feet. So I got it very wrong. Alright, now entering stats. You got to enter them in this section here. It's the default is 10 and you add or you subtract from that depending on the value of 10. So I need to enter 9, so it's going to be a -1. I need to enter 20, so it's going to be a 10. 13 will be a 3, 16 will be a 6, 14 will be a 4, and 16 will be a 6. So 10 plus 6 equals 16. If you want 9, you've got to get a -1 to get to 9 from 10. So it's pretty easy once you get your head around it. Now, if you were to save this now and to look at it in Hero Lab, there'll be something interesting that happens, and let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so we can now use it. The Test Now button is what you need to press before you test anything. We'll come over here, we're going to create a new hero into our portfolio. It's a variegated fairy dragon. It's a non-player character, it's going to be an enemy of the party. And I wanted to use the Forest Kingdom Campaign Compendium, which is excellent if you want fey creatures, by the way. Good read. Okay, so now we're going to come in here. We've got the variegated fairy dragon. Now, all that information we entered before, here it is available for us to see, so we can have a bit of a read about what this is and what we're bringing into our fight. Then we can double click and we can bring it in. It didn't actually do what I expected. Why is that? No, it's a normal player race. And it did come through. Alright, so here you can just check your stats are correct. So we were looking for a 9, a 20, a 13, a 16, a 14, and a 16. And it is a good idea to check these things. You can see the speed all came across correctly. You can see the hit points came across correctly. Now here what I was saying before, armor class is defaulted to 15 based on the stats that we've got. So we need to give it another 2. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to find the bonus, natural armor bonus. I'm going to put 2. And I'll save that and just test it. And then when I come back and have a look, it should be 17. There we go. Alright, so now we're ready to proceed to the next section. Skills, Arcana. Should be... There it is, skill proficiency. So we've got Arcana, Perception, and stealth. Alright, then what I do is I come back here and I check this, and then you see why. So, Arcana is meant to be +7, Perception is meant to be +6, and Stealth is meant to be +9. So I'm quite far off with the automation there. So what we're going to try and do is we will move this to Proficiency double. Is that the right one? Perception? Yep. Then we'll test that and we'll see what happens. Alright, so we've got a +7 correct, +6 correct, and a +9. So according to this stat block, they have double proficiency in these items. Okay, head back to our stat block. Next, we need to do Senses, Dark Vision. Alright, so Senses is actually done as a racial special ability. We just do a search for Dark Vision. There it is, give it a tick. And then we set the value to whatever it says, so 60. Click OK. Passive perception is basically calculated automatically, so we can just check this. Yep, passive perception is 16, should be 16, so that's all correct. Then we need languages, so automatic languages. It understands Sylvan but can't speak it. Yes, Sylvan. Can't speak, we'll give it a tick and click OK. And then it's a challenge rating of 3, so we'll just come along, find the challenge rating, and enter 3. We'll give it a test at this stage. And just check to make sure we're happy with what's coming across. Now, you notice that I've got the stat block here, by the way. You can turn this on yourself by going Character, Configure Hero, and then coming down and clicking the Show Full Stat Block Summary window. I really like using that for monsters just because it matches the monster manual. Alright, so Dark Vision, Passive Perception, underscore Sylvan but doesn't speak it, and challenge rating of 3. You can see the XP's automatically defaulted, so that's all working perfectly. Don't know why we're getting that. We're getting an ability score decrease. Not seen that before. I would have no idea where that's coming, so we'll play with that as it goes and see if I can figure out where that's come from. Alright, so magic resistance. The fairy dragon has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. Alright, so I'm just going to check to see if I've got that included in this file already. And the racial special tab is where we're basically storing these. So what we have is we have the race that's going to connect to other things. Alright, so we get a racial special. We'll scroll down, you can see I've put in a lot of stuff already. The fairy dragon has advantage on saving throw against spells and other magical effects. We've already got something that does what we want. So I'm going to grab the unique identifier and I'm going to go back to the race tab. Go back to my fairy dragon and I'm going to find the racial special abilities. I'm going to click to add another bootstrap. Type that in there, click tick and OK. Alright, so what we've done there is we're coming in here and doing it, and we're bootstrapping. Alright, so if you look in the bootstrap menu up here, we'll actually see everything that I'm adding is slowly getting done. Bootstrapping, think of it as like there's something else within Hero Labs and you want to use it on your race. That's what bootstrapping is. And you can do this on anything, right? If you've got a magic item, you could bootstrap something to the item. Bootstrapping lets you connect to things, and it can be really quite handy because then you don't have to keep recreating things all the time. Alright, we'll see that now we have magic resistance, which is fantastic. Alright, init spellcasting. This one's a bit more interesting. So we've got a spellcasting type down here. We need a spellcasting helper. We're going to do init spellcasting. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to find the init spells. So, at will, greater visibility. Put a tick. Change that to at will. And then we need color spray. Dancing light. Scenario terrain, mage hand. You can see I'm ticking quite a few here. That's completely okay. You don't have to type the whole thing either to search for something. Mage image, minor illusion. Hero image, polymorph. This guy's got some spells. And suggestion. Boom, it's added them all. Now this one here can be cast 1 per day. So I'm just going to scroll through. I'm going to change them all to a day first. I like to do group activities in bulk. It saves me from having to think about each one individually. I'm going to come down here in the charges. I'm going to put 1. And this will tell it that you can do this once per day. Alright, then we have Vanish is a separate ability by the looks of it. Cool, so we'll click OK. And Vanish, let's have a look in the racial special and see if we've made a Vanish. Alright, that's a different Vanish. I'm going to duplicate it instead of create a new one. I'm going to replace the text. What are we doing this for? We're doing this for variegated. Right, that's just making it unique from the other Vanish name. I can't use the same unique identifier twice. Alright, here we're going to make sure that this is the right one. So for feature type, special, and what this is doing is it's basically identifying where in the stat block it's going to go. If you enter in action here, for example, it'll create an action section. Then for action, what does it need? It's a bonus action, so we'll tick bonus and click OK. That should be it. Let's click show on specials tab so it will show. Click test, and off we go. Now you notice that I'm ignoring a hell of a lot of the stuff that exists in these stat blocks within the editor. The editor is really quite a big tool, so just be aware that you're always going to see stuff that is probably bigger than what you're used to having to deal with, and that's completely cool. You don't need to deal with everything. Alright, I didn't add that to my monster, that's why I didn't show up. So I'll grab the name and I'll head back to the race, and I'll go back to the racial specials, click add, paste it in, tick it. Now okay. So now if we go back to our stat block, we can see all of our spell castings come across, and we can see vanishes come across as well. I really don't know where that's coming from. Ability score decrease. There's no adjustments. Maybe I just went too high with the ability scores and it's automatically telling me you've gone too high. I'm just going to test that actually, just while I've got you guys here, just to waste your time and let my brain go and do its thing. Could be educational. No. So I can see it's got a name of RKP. I'll have a look in the bootstraps. Ability score decrease. There we go. It's actually come across from somewhere. So we'll just get rid of that. We'll put our skill proficiencies back up to where they should have been. Perception and stealth. Click test now. If we have a look back here, that's now gone. Alright, so just to explain that probably a bit slower. Something was bootstrapped to my monster and I didn't know where it was coming from, so I've just checked the bootstrap section. I was able to identify the name, by looking at the item and right clicking on it, I can go see the unique ID. I was able to identify that name in my Bootstrap list, therefore identifying the fact that it didn't need to be there, and I just removed it. So pretty easy thing to do. I probably must have just clicked something at random and added it. Alright, next we need to add a byte. So let's have a look here. This will be a natural attack. Natural attack, there we go. So I'm going to click edit, I'm going to go add. I'm going to tick byte, because that's what we're doing. What do we got? We've got +7 to hit. Ooh, hang on. This only hits for 1 piercing damage. Oh, I don't know if I can do this. 0, 0, 1. I'm sure there is a way, but I've just never done it before. Let's see what that did. Alright, we've got a +1 to hit, we've got no damage coming in. So I think we got close. What's our attack modifier? +1, and we want to get to +7. If you're unsure how to do something, it really can make it quite easy just to constantly flick back and forth between one and the other. Alright, still a melee weapon attack. It's got a reach of 5 feet, which is the default, so I don't need to put that in. Hits for 1 piercing damage, so that side's all done. Now we just have to deal with this side, which seems to be all this. Alright, so we're going to do this and then we're going to see what it looks like inside the tool. Okay, so if we look at this, what have we got? So it just says and, which is obviously not ideal. So we can go 1 piercing damage, we'll copy that section there and we'll put that into the same effect. Now usually you wouldn't need to do the way I'm doing, you just enter how many dice that they're rolling and it'll automatically display the damage, but in this situation here this is quite a unique way to represent the damage if it only does 1 hit. I think I've only ever seen one other monster that does that. Okay, but that looks like it came across quite well. Looks quite good. If we go into the special play, have we got bite? No. Can we make bite come up? Probably. You would be able to. I really can't be bothered, it's not necessary. It's in here. It's in here if you hold your mouse over. So that works well. Alright, now we need a breath weapon with a recharge of 5 or 6. So we'll come back to the editor. I'm going to come through to racial special. Let's have a look to see if we've got a breath weapon. We do. It's specific to the monster though that we were using it for, so I'm going to copy it. Not copy it, sorry, duplicate it. And we're going to get rid of everything here. I'm giving it a slightly different name to the last one just so it doesn't freak out. Then in the description I'll put the actual text of the spell, not the spell, sorry, the ability. Alright, now we check. What is it? Is it an action? Yes, it is. What ability do we need to use it? So it's a proper action, so we leave that as it is. Now this one's also got a recharge of 5 or 6. So where's the recharge section? Recharge 5 or 6. That will then go through. Fix melee damage. That's incorrect, so we don't need that. Let's test it. Now you have to test these special abilities or racial specials before you associate them with the race. So I've saved it, it's now available. Now I'll come back up to my racial special abilities and I'll add it as a bootstrap in here. Click OK. Then I'll test that again. Alright, so how did that work? The recharge 5 or 6 came through. Everything else is looking like it's come across quite nicely. Excellent. So all that's really left then is the legendary actions. So we'll come back to our editor. Now legendary actions are done in racial special still. So if we look at move, I think I've got one of these already. No. So we'll go new blank. We're going to call it move. We'll paste in what it does. And where you make it into a legendary action is in the feature type. So we go feature type, legendary. Now this isn't done with an action. It's done at the end of the term, so we're just going to go no action required. I'll just leave it like that. Blah blah blah. We'll give it a unique identifier. Show on special tabs. Click go. We can now use it, so we'll take a copy of the unique identifier and we'll go back to the race and we'll put it into the racial special abilities. Now if we test add changes, let me head back here, we'll see like legendary actions has already been added, and you see this text has actually been added automatically as well, so you don't need to worry about adding that, and then move is there. So that's all working perfectly. We just need to add the other two abilities. So we've got bite, doing racial special. There is no bite, so we'll go blank. This is a legendary. No standard action, that's what that's talking about. Save it, and we'll put the fairy magic in as well. Now you see here I've left the cost 2 actions in. I'm sure there is a way for me to automate that, but I've not figured it out yet, so I'm just pasting in the name. Doesn't really have any impact, so make it into a legendary action and set it so that no actions are required, and then we'll test it. Alright, now we'll go back to our race and we'll set up the ones I just did. So fairy, magic, and bite. Then we'll test. Go back to Hero Lab and let's have a look. So all 3 legendary actions are now there. I usually just do a little bit of a high level review. Breath weapons there, innate magic's there, innate magic. What are we missing? We're missing vanish. Nope, there it is. Excuse me, I'm just going crazy. Got all our innate spellcasting, and we've got our magic resistances. Everything looks good. Okay, so that's done. And the one thing you'll notice that as I was doing this, I had this open in Hero Lab as I was doing it. I highly recommend you do that for obvious reasons. But there is something else that I'm doing that's probably a little bit special that some of you may have noticed. Most people, when they save a portfolio, they save it as a user file. What I'm doing is saving it as a stock file. And when I'm going save portfolio as, I'm saving it into the 5th edition data file. Yours will just be 5th edition. Alright, and you save it into there as a stock file. And the reason why I'm doing that is basically once you've done that, you can then come into Show Encounter Builder and you can do a search for your monster. Alright, so did that come through? No. Variegated. No, it did not. Alright, I can see here that the naming convention used for Fairy Dragon is actually quite different in another place, so I'm just going to fix that. So I'll make it so it's all the same. Oh, I'm sorry, the one thing I missed, and this is why it wasn't displaying for me, I didn't set my source. Now, for most of you, if you don't set a source, then it's just going to appear in everything. I obviously have all the sources in front of me for the community pack, as well as some other stuff that I've been working on. So I can click in the Forest Kingdom campaign compendium and click OK, and then basically what I need to do is save those changes and come through to here. You know, I've got my configure hero, I've got Forest Kingdom campaign compendium, and I should be able to see Fairy Dragon. Nope. What did I do? What did I do? I didn't save my portfolio. That's what I didn't do. There we go. Got the variegated Fairy Dragon. Now, you can see the name here isn't what I want. So you can see the name in Hero Lab itself is actually what's pulling this. So I'm just going to change this here to match the naming convention of the other Fairy Dragons. Okay, you see that replicates through. And if I save my changes and go Game Master Show Encounter Builder, it seems to have not reset. Oh yeah, there we go. So it is coming through in the bottom, it's not coming through in the top. I wonder if there's somewhere else that I've missed that. No. Don't know. Doesn't really matter. It's coming through. Maybe it just needs to flow through a bit quicker. Maybe on a restart of the application it would work. So a stock file is literally just a portfolio. So you use portfolios for everything, I imagine. It's literally just a portfolio. When you go save portfolio as, you change it to a stock file. So you actually type the .stock at the back. Alright, and you save it in here. Now, another thing you could have done back in the editor is set your own source up. So you can click new, and then you can create your own source name. You have to do a unique identifier as well. Alright, and you can create that, you know, Bob's Monsters, whatever. Alright, that's done. Another thing that I would probably do while I was doing this monster, and this can be a bit harder, is just copy the image. We'll open that in GreenShot. Alright, you can see that's pretty clear, so I like that. We're going to go select all and copy. And what I'm actually going to do is open GIMP. Anyone who's seen some of my other Realmworks videos would probably know what I'm about to do. I want the black background to be transparent, or at least try to. Not a fan of the black background. So I'm going to paste as a new image. Alright, I'm going to use my magic wand to select everything. I'm going to come up to, oh, it's been a while. There you go, layer and transparency. I'm going to add an alpha channel. Then I'm going to press delete. Because I'd already highlighted everything else, it just works. Alright, then we're going to export that as, where do I want to put that? There we go. I'll put that in here. So we'll do the fairy dragon. We're going to export that as a PNG file. Then we're going to go back to Hero Labs, not the editor, and through the personal tab we're going to put it in through that way. You can see I've got lots of images set up. Got the fairy dragon picture. You can see it's come across as black anyway. So I don't think Hero Labs does transparency at all. Okay, now it's erroring out on the abilities. Why is it doing that? That's because my character is set up to use fixed scores. If I go pick or roll, it'll just get rid of the error. And from here I just save it. Save it in your stock file, then the next time you start Hero Lab, it's going to be available. Alright, you could add this to your Realmworks files as well if you wanted, whatever you like. But at the end of the day, done. We've got a new monster. It's not that difficult. I think it's just one of those things that you sort of just have to see in order to be able to do it more efficiently. It can take a little bit of time. Actually, did I check the HP? Yes, I did. 24. Cool. So that's it. That's how to create a monster in Hero Lab. Yeah, give it a go. There are certainly harder things that you're going to be able to do in the editor. And it depends on what monster you get and whether you need to do that. So to show you some of the stuff I've had to do, where's the Boojum Schnark, whatever that is. I had to put an eval script into this one, and this is basically saying that the strength saves were actually too low, so I needed to add some stuff there, and the proficiencies and the skills weren't adding up to what the author had selected in the module, so I had to do some manual modifications there as well. So you can do some really powerful stuff with this editor, and I'm not going to lie, you're going to find it confusing for quite a while until you play around with this a bit. There's probably always going to be something that you don't know how to do. Just don't be afraid, get in and give it a crack, and if you come across something you don't know how to do, maybe head to the forums and ask if there's someone around who knows how to do it. Don't necessarily come to me to ask me how to do it, because one thing you'll learn about me is I actually don't know what I'm doing in Hero Lab. I copy things from places and that's it. I'll generally find a monster that does what I need it to do. I'll look that monster up by doing the new copy. And from there I can find out what it does. For example, let's just have a bit of a question. If we wanted an ancient dragon, have a look at the ancient mithril dragon. The ancient mithril dragon was using, I'm just going to look it up in here actually. here I am just rambling on. There it is. Oh, she's a brass. Alright, see the legendary actions has the cost 2 actions. So you know before, like probably halfway through the video, I said I don't know how to do the cost 2 actions. So let's look it up. We'll find wing actions. So I'm going to come into racial specials and look up wing actions. I know you here somewhere. Wing attack. Am I seeing something? I'm just finding the wing attack. I'm going to right click on it and go copy unique ID. So that way I can look it up in here and see if I'm actually going crazy. Yep, there we go. How did they do it? They didn't name it. See that? Alright, so it's got a legend act tag on it with 2 in it. There we go, legendary actions 2. So I'm just missing a drop down completely. So I'll delete that. I'll go back to my legendary actions, which for the fairy magic costs 2. I'll get rid of the cost 2 actions, and I'll come down here to where I had legendary actions and select 2. I added stuff that I shouldn't have added. Hang on. Where's that dragon? It was a mithril. Probably just dropped off, to be honest. Oh, selecting the wrong spot. Delete that. There we go. Okay, so what did I just do? What is Josh rambling about? Basically, I wanted to know how to do the cost 2 actions in Hero Lab. So I looked up a monster that I knew had that, which in this case here was a Mithril Dragon Legendary. I looked that up in the tool, found out what the actual spell was called by right clicking and getting the copy unique ID. I searched for that in the Hero Lab editor under the racial special section because I know that's where they are. And using that, I was able to get a copy of it and identify how that is done. And then I can copy that to something else. You're going to do a lot of that when you're loading Hero Lab, and it's a really good lesson to learn. Is someone's generally always done something that you want to do beforehand, and you just need to find it and copy it, and it makes life a hell of a lot easier. Alright, I'm going to delete this guy. Really getting quite a few in this portfolio. And that's it, that's done. Alright, so there we go, that's how to add a monster. Now, I'll probably do another one of these videos, so we'll run through the process again with a completely different monster, just so, excuse me, just so you can get an idea of how to do it from a different perspective. Different monster, different challenge, and every monster is generally going to be different. Once you've done a few though, you really get your head around it and it gets quicker, so just give it a crack, guys, and see how you go. Alright, that's all there is for this video, guys. Hope you've enjoyed it, hope you found it useful. If you have found it useful, please do subscribe using the links below, and you guys know where to find me in the Facebook group, on the forums. If there's any videos you want me to do, just let me know. Alright guys, thank you, and I'll speak to you later.